Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Clay, and I am the Bucks believer. I'm sorry that this video isn't coming out right after the game, as I usually try to do in these post-game recap videos, but yesterday I had a track meet, and I didn't get home until very late in the night, so I didn't have a chance to watch the game last night, but luckily I had a day off from school today, so I watched the game this morning, and now I'm going to be getting this post-game recap video out to you guys, although it is a little bit late. Yesterday we saw the Bucks suffer an unfortunate loss to the Houston Rockets by a final score of 143 to 136. The reason why this loss is so unfortunate is because the Rockets are genuinely one of the worst teams in the entire NBA, and the Bucks also have the Rockets' second round pick by way of a draft swap in this upcoming NBA draft. So we certainly don't want to be losing and helping out their draft position, and hurting their draft position. And this also obviously hurts the Bucks' chances of getting a top 2 seed in the Eastern Conference, and it looks increasingly likely that Milwaukee will finish third. In this game, we also saw Giannis Antetokounmpo go down with an ankle injury, as very early in the game he had the ball on a fast break. He went to a Euro step on Kelly Olynyk and ended up stepping on Olynyk's foot, which led to him suffering what appeared to be a left ankle sprain. We don't know for sure how long Giannis will be out yet, and I'm sure that there will be more info coming out on that later on today, but we have to keep our fingers crossed because obviously as Bucks fans, we cannot afford to have Giannis out for a long period of time here, and we hope to see him back on the court very soon. In his absence, the Bucks didn't have their best game as they lost to a Rockets team that, as I said earlier, is not very good. Kevin Porter Jr., the young second-year player for the Rockets that they got basically for nothing in a trade with the Cleveland Cavaliers earlier this season, stepped up and had a career night, finishing with 50 points on 16 for 26 shooting, 9 for 15 shooting from the three-point line, and 9 for 11 shooting from the free throw line. Porter was scoring in every single way possible. He got to his floater, he got to the rim, he got to the free throw line. He was knocking down 3 after 3 off catch and shoots, off pull-ups, off step backs. The Bucks are doing a lot of switching in this game, and he tried to get Brook Lopez on him in every situation possible, and he was able to do so on multiple occasions. And when he had Lopez, he was able to get to that step back jumper, generate all kinds of room for himself to get off that jump shot, and he was knocking down those shots time and time again in this game. He also dished out 11 assists and in particular showed a chemistry with a trio of big men in Christian Wood, Kelly Olynyk, and DJ Wilson, who all had big nights as well. But this is KPJ's night. He was terrific for the Rockets, and he was the clear reason why they were able to put up a whopping 143 points against a Milwaukee Bucks team that has been in the top 10 in defense for just about the entire season this year. One adjustment that I think the Bucks could have made was actually going back to their drop coverage scheme. I know that has received a lot of criticism over the years, but the switching clearly wasn't working as KPJ was able to exploit those switches time and time again. However, I don't necessarily think that the drop coverage would have solved anything at all either because of just how hot Kevin Porter was today. He would have probably just got to that floater shot that we saw him get to a couple times, and I'm not necessarily certain that would have helped at all. Just one little idea that I had, but overall, just a huge night from KPJ. He was even hitting shots on Jrue Holiday. This was just a huge shot-making night, and I have to give him all of the credit in the world. Christian Wood, Kelly Olynyk, and DJ Wilson, 3 guys that I mentioned a little bit earlier, also had huge nights. Wood had 31 points and 9 rebounds on 6 for 10 3-point shooting. Olynyk had 24 points and 13 rebounds on 3 for 5 3-point shooting. And Wilson had 15 points and 12 rebounds on 3 for 5 3-point shooting. That's 3 players at the 4 and 5 positions for the Rockets that scored upwards of 15 points and grabbed upwards of 9 rebounds while making a combined 60% of their 3-point shots. When you let the opposing team's front court tear you apart in that way, while you also are allowing a guy like Kevin Porter Jr. to score as rapidly as he did in this game, it's going to be really tough to come away with a win. And I give those 3 guys a lot of credit as well for being able to make the open jump shots that they were able to generate throughout the course of this game. The Rockets as a whole did a really great job of that as they made a whopping 25 of 46 three-pointers today, which translates to 54.3% shooting from beyond the arc. when you allow an opposing team to shoot that well, it's going to be tough to come away with a victory, and the Bucks certainly felt that in today's game. It's not even necessarily that they were playing bad defense, as they were making the Rockets take all kinds of tough shots. It's more like the Rockets were just able to knock down those shots. Wood in particular was hitting some shots with defenders in his face. He just has so much length and is able to use his high release point on his jump shot to shoot it right over opposing defenders. And he, along with KPJ, combined for 81 points. So just a ridiculous scoring night for the Rockets, and that certainly was aided by the fact that they were able to grab 16 offensive rebounds in this game. When you're able to create that many extra possessions for your team, it's going to allow you to continue to have extra shots at making shots, obviously. So when the Rockets are going to be shooting the ball as well as they did tonight, if you're going to give up the offensive rebounds as well, you might as well call it good night. And honestly, it's kind of impressive that the Bucks were able to keep it within 10 points in this game despite allowing the Rockets to shoot both as well as they did from three and to offensive rebound as well as they did. And a lot of credit for that has to go to the Bucks offense, as there were three players in particular that stepped up in Giannis Antetokounmpo's absence. The first of those is Chris Middleton, the most recent Bucks player outside of Antetokounmpo to make an All-Star team, as he made it in both the 2018-19 and 2019-20 seasons. Chris really stepped up and made a lot of really difficult shots for the Bucks in this game, as he finished with 33 points on 9 for 21 shooting, 5 for 10 shooting from 3, and perhaps most importantly, 10 for 10 shooting from the free throw line. Chris isn't necessarily someone that we see get to the line all that frequently over the course of the season for the Bucks. He doesn't draw a whole lot of contact, and even when he does get to the basket, he doesn't seem to have a great whistle and doesn't get a whole lot of calls. However, Middleton in this game was a little more aggressive, looking to create contact with his jump shot on the perimeter and getting to the basket and drawing fouls at the rim as well. So to see him shoot 10 free throws is a great sign, and I hope to see him continue to get to the free throw line more often, because it's an easy source of offense that is really important to have when the playoffs come around. We've seen players like Kawhi Leonard and Luka Doncic and LeBron James really dominate at the free throw line in the playoffs, so I hope that Chris can continue to get to the line more often. He also was scoring with his jumper outside of free throws, as he got to his spots in the mid-range time and time again, took advantage of some mismatches against smaller Rockets defenders, and easily drained those mid-range jump shots. He also made 5 3-pointers and was really on fire with his pull-up 3 ball today. So a good game from Chris. 9 for 21 isn't the most efficient game when you look at it on the surface level, but because of his 3-point shooting and his free throws, he ended up scoring 33 points on those 21 shots. He also dished out 8 assists, and it was good for him to continue to have a nice game passing the basketball, as that's an area in which he has greatly improved this season. So a solid game from Chris, and he was joined in having a terrific game by his teammate Jrue Holiday. Holiday was great for the Bucks, as he had 29 points and 10 assists and made 12 of his 19 shots from the field. Holiday had a stretch at the beginning of the fourth quarter where he scored 14 straight points for the Bucks and really carried them to what was a pretty close ending of the game, when it looked like during the third quarter the Rockets were kind of going to run away with this one. Jrue did a great job of getting to the basket and finishing at the rim once he did get there, and he also was able to get to his step-back jump shot, although it was more in the mid-range than behind the three-point line in this game. Jrue was really good, and he also was impactful defensively. Yeah, I get it, the Bucks gave up 143 points, but Jrue did make some really nice plays, finishing with 4 blocks and 2 steals. A couple of those steals, I guess not a couple, but one of them came in the fourth quarter, and I believe it led to a fast break layup, so it allowed the Bucks to keep themselves in this game. And a lot of those blocks came while Holiday was guarding Christian Wood, which is a really difficult matchup for him, considering Wood is about 7 or 8 inches taller than him. So a nice game from Jrue, and I certainly don't put a lot of blame on him for this loss for the Bucks. Finally, Bryn Forbes had a great game. We've seen the flamethrower, as he has been called, get going in the past, and I believe this was his season high, putting up 30 points on 11 for 17 shooting and 6 for 10 shooting from beyond the three-point line. Forbes isn't going to be one of your top 3 scorers every single night. He's a little bit too streaky of a shooter to do that. However, he's consistent enough to provide you with a solid amount of scoring and offense off the bench, and It's good to see him have nights like this because in the playoffs, there are going to be times where Chris is struggling, or Drew is struggling, or Giannis isn't as effective as he always is. And especially if Giannis is out, the Bucks are going to need someone else to step up and get buckets. And Bryn is certainly capable of that, as we saw with his onslaught of scoring. Overall, I think a lot of Bucks fans and NBA fans in as a whole are going to look at this Bucks loss for the Bucks as a really bad one. They lost to a Rockets team that was 4-37 in their last 41 games heading into last night. However, the Bucks really didn't play that poorly as they hit some huge shots, and while their defense wasn't the best, they also were forcing the Rockets to take difficult shots. Houston just shot the ball ridiculously well. So I'm not going to overreact to this. I don't think the sky is falling or anything. The only way the sky would be falling is if Giannis is going to be out for the season. Obviously, that would be a disaster, but I certainly don't think that it's that extreme, as we did see him walk around and get up on his own after the fall. So hopefully this is not a super serious injury and we can see Giannis back on the court real soon. Let me know what you thought of this game in the comment section down below. Be sure to like and subscribe if you did enjoy this video, especially if you are a fellow Bucks believer. This is the place for you. I think that I've covered everything that I wanted to cover, so that's going to be it for me. Ladies and gentlemen, I will see you all again very soon.